Do you believe the Bible can make someone a millionaire in just 6 months? Sounds absurd, right? But I'll show you why most people read the Bible the wrong way and, therefore, don't reap the rewards it promises. The truth is, it's not just a religious book, it's a practical manual for wealth, prosperity, and personal transformation. And if you correctly apply what I'm about to show you, in 6 months your life could be completely different. The Bible teaches that, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This phrase is simple, yet carries a power few truly understand. The reality you live in today is merely a reflection of the thoughts you've nurtured over the past years. And here's a truth almost nobody wants to face: if your mind is filled with worries, fears, and beliefs of scarcity, no matter how hard you work, you'll always feel trapped. Think with me, how many times have you believed you weren't born to be rich? That money is only for those who inherited it, or have important connections. How many times have you looked at someone successful and thought, they are lucky? These thoughts seem harmless, but they are seeds. And each seed planted in your mind germinates in your behavior, your choices, and inevitably, your results. I've experienced this firsthand. There was a time when I believed my destiny was simply to survive with hard, low-paying jobs. I worked in factories, gas stations, changing tires, changing oil, cleaning up dirt. And the most painful part is that I didn't see a way out. I truly believed my life would be an endless cycle of overdue bills and unfulfilling jobs. All because my mind was imprisoned in a poor self-image. I didn't believe in myself, I didn't believe I could achieve something greater. But the change began the moment I understood that it wasn't the lack of opportunities that limited me, it was my mind. When I received the book, Think and Grow Rich, I had no formal education, no special skills, no brilliant plan. I only had a new idea, that I could change the way I thought about myself and about life. That idea alone ignited a flame that completely transformed the course of my story. Science today confirms what the Bible has been saying for thousands of years. Studies in psychology show that our thoughts directly shape our emotions and behaviors. People who cultivate thoughts of abundance become more resilient, creative, and open to opportunities. Those who nurture thoughts of scarcity experience more anxiety, make rash decisions, and even sabotage their own chances of prospering. Do you see how this relates to what you're experiencing today? Imagine this scene: you receive your salary at the end of the month. What's the first thought that comes to mind? For most, it's something like, it won't be enough, or, it barely covers the bills. This thought triggers emotions of fear and frustration. And these emotions influence your decisions. You postpone investments, avoid new ideas, cling to a job you hate, accept scraps as if it were the most you could ever have. This is how the cycle continues. Now imagine that, faced with the same salary, your thought was, this is just a part of what's coming to me, because there's more abundance on the way. How would you feel? What decisions would you make if you truly believed that? The difference between those who prosper and those who don't lies precisely there, in their way of thinking. Consider the example of Walt Disney. He was fired from a newspaper because, according to his boss, he lacked creativity. If he had believed that seed of scarcity, he would never have built the Disney empire. But he chose to feed his mind with another truth, that his vision was worthwhile. That mental decision changed the lives of millions of people around the world. And maybe you're thinking now, but I already try to think positively and nothing changes. And I ask you, do you truly believe, or do you just repeat motivational phrases while deep down you feel fear and doubt? The Bible doesn't talk about repeating empty words, it talks about believing with all your heart. This is where many go wrong. They try to deceive the conscious mind, but in their hearts, they remain imprisoned by fear. I learned that the mind is like a fertile field. If you plant the seed of scarcity, the soil doesn't judge, it simply makes it grow. If you plant abundance, the same thing happens. And what defines the harvest is not the quality of the soil, but the quality of the seed. Therefore, if you want to transform your life in just 6 months, start now to watch every thought that crosses your mind. Do a simple test. For 7 days, every morning, write on a piece of paper, I am prosperous because my mind is prosperous. Read it aloud, feel the words, Allow each repetition to be a drop of water nourishing the seed of abundance within you. You'll notice that, as the days go by, your emotions begin to change. And when your emotions change, your actions also change. This is the beginning of transformation. The Bible never said it would be easy, but it made it clear that everything begins within you. The poverty you see outside is just a mirror of the poverty you feed within. And when you change what's inside, what's outside has no choice. It must align with your new reality. This is where the process of prosperity becomes inevitable. Because when your mind becomes convinced that you were born for abundance, nothing can prevent that abundance from manifesting. Many people believe that having faith is simply waiting for things to fall from the sky. They spend years praying, asking for prosperity, asking for a better life, but they continue repeating the same habits, the same choices, and the same mistakes. And when nothing changes, they conclude that perhaps it's not God's will for them to prosper. But the truth is different. Faith without action is dead. The Bible is clear about this. It's not enough to believe with your mouth if your hands remain still, if your life continues to be driven by fear and inertia. How many times have you told yourself, "I believe God will help me," and on the same day spent more than you could, neglected to study something new, or gave up on an opportunity because it seemed too risky? That's not faith. That's delusion. True faith demands movement. It demands that you prove, through your actions, that you believe what you say you believe. I experienced this very strongly in my life. When I worked in the fire department, I had stability. It was a respected job, with a fixed salary, but also with a limit that I could already see in my future. If I stayed there, my life would be defined, fair bills, repetitive routine, and no room for growth. It was at that moment that I had to choose, trust in what I said I believed, or settle for something that made me feel secure but without hope of prosperity. I quit my job. It was a decision that scared everyone around me. They told me I was going crazy, that I was throwing away a guaranteed life. But I knew that if I wanted to transform my reality, I would have to act on the faith I was cultivating. And that decision led me to open my first business. I had no experience, no degree, no one to guide me. But I had faith accompanied by action. In my first year, I had already earned more than $100,000. Now I want you to think, how many times have you stopped taking a step because it seemed too risky? How many times have you preferred the security that keeps you trapped in a lifestyle you don't love, instead of taking a leap of faith? Fear paralyzes, and that's exactly what prevents so many people from seeing the results they desire. Current research in neuroscience shows that when you believe in something and act towards it, the brain begins to create new neural pathways, strengthening your confidence. It's as if each action were a brick placed in the construction of a new reality. But when you believe and don't act, the brain interprets that there is no real importance, and that faith is lost in the void. This explains why so many people pray for years without seeing change. They don't align their faith with behavior. An inspiring example of this is the story of Elon Musk. He believed he could change the world with electric cars and space exploration. But notice, it wasn't enough to believe. He invested every last cent he had, risked everything, including his personal comfort. If he had just stood still, waiting for it to work out, he would never have built anything. His faith was accompanied by bold action, and that is precisely why the results were extraordinary. Perhaps today you are praying for a better job, for your own business, for financial freedom. But the question is, what are you doing to show that you believe in it? Are you preparing yourself? Are you investing in knowledge? Are you acting like someone who truly believes, or are you just waiting for a miracle that never comes? Faith requires courage. It requires you to do things you haven't done before, to move even when you don't see all the pieces of the path. The Bible never said you had to see the whole journey. It only said, take the first step. The rest is revealed when you are already in motion. And I'm going to propose something simple, yet powerful. For the next 30 days, choose an action that represents the faith you say you have. If you believe you can prosper, then start saving a portion of your money, even if it's small. If you believe you can grow professionally, then dedicate yourself to learning a new skill, even if you don't yet know how you will apply it. If you believe you can have a business, take the first step to structure an idea. When you start acting in alignment with your faith, life begins to open doors that previously seemed invisible. Faith is action. No amount of prayer, affirmations, or hopeful waiting will suffice if you don't act. The universe responds only when you demonstrate a willingness to move toward what you desire. And the moment your actions align with your faith, nothing can prevent the desired outcome from manifesting. The Bible clearly teaches that whatever a man sows, that he shall also reap. This is one of the most powerful laws in existence, yet also one of the most misunderstood. Most believe this passage refers solely to spiritual or religious matters, when in reality, it describes a universal principle governing all aspects of life, including finances. Every attitude, every thought, every choice is a seed you plant in the soil of your own existence. You cannot reap something different from what you sow. Consider your relationship with money. If every time you receive money, you hoard it out of fear of loss, clinging to it, failing to invest or help others, what are you planting? Fear. Scarcity. And what will you reap? More fear and more scarcity. This is the cycle that traps millions. They yearn for prosperity but act as if they are perpetually lacking. They pray for abundance, yet their daily behavior is a testament to insecurity. I've witnessed this globally. Talented, capable people who never prosper because they haven't grasped this principle. It's like wanting to harvest apples after planting lemon seeds. No matter how much you desire a different fruit, the result hinges entirely on what you planted. When I started my first business, a cleaning company, something within me told me that true prosperity required a different mindset. I lacked experience and formal education, but I decided that whenever I earned money, I would reinvest a portion and share with others. This wasn't obligatory charity, it was an understanding. The more I circulated the energy of money, the more it would return to me. And that's precisely what happened. In a short time, I earned far more than I ever imagined possible because I learned that fear of loss closes doors, while a willingness to plant opens invisible channels of return. Have you noticed how the most prosperous individuals are also the most generous? Think of Oprah Winfrey. She frequently discusses how the practice of giving radically transformed her life. The moment she understood that hoarding was an act of fear, she began to plant differently. The return came in forms far exceeding money, recognition, influence, abundance in every sense. Now examine your life. When was the last time you helped someone without expecting anything in return? When did you last invest in yourself instead of merely extinguishing immediate fires? When did you last make a sowing decision with the future in mind, rather than solely protecting your present? These questions determine whether your harvest 6 months from now will be abundance or frustration. Science corroborates this. Behavioral research shows that generous people experience higher levels of happiness and well-being. They experience less financial stress, not necessarily because they earn more, but because they cultivate a sense of abundance. Their minds open to opportunities invisible to those living in fear. I recall a situation where I tested this principle. I was launching a project with insufficient funds. I could have saved it, telling myself, I can't risk it, I need to hold on. But I chose to invest every cent in business growth and even assisted a struggling colleague. Many considered this foolish. Yet, within 3 months, the return was multiplied in ways I never anticipated. This taught me that planting isn't about convenience, it's about trust. So, if you desire prosperity, begin planting consciously. Plant generosity, invest in yourself, cultivate disciplined habits. Do this without expecting immediate returns, for the soil doesn't yield fruit overnight. But it always returns, and it returns multiplied. That's the law. The sooner you align your actions with it, the sooner you'll reap your desired results. One of prosperity's greatest enemies isn't a lack of ability or opportunity, but the fear of judgment. How often have you foregone something due to concern about family, friends, neighbors, or colleagues? This fear is invisible but powerful. It paralyzes more than any external obstacle. The Bible warns against spirits of confusion. This confusion often masquerades as well-intentioned advice from loved ones who, unknowingly, project their insecurities onto you, limiting your growth. This was starkly evident when I decided to leave the fire department. It was logical for me. I understood that I couldn't prosper on a fixed salary and limited routine. But family and friends reacted almost universally negatively. They called me irresponsible, said I was throwing away stability many craved, and laughed at the idea of starting a business without training or experience. They called it insane. Had I heeded them, I'd still be living a mediocre life, never discovering my full potential. I learned then, when you decide to prosper, you inevitably disturb others. Modern research confirms this. A Stanford University study revealed that 85% of people abandon their biggest dreams due to fear of social judgment. Statistically, almost everyone around you has given up something significant out of fear of what others might think. If you let this fear guide you, you'll perpetuate the pattern. Consider brilliant ideas never realized because someone said, "It won't work." Consider talents never shared because of mockery or criticism. Imagine if these individuals had trusted their inner voice over external opinions. The world would be vastly different. Look at history's greats. When Steve Jobs spoke of personal computers, many called him a dreamer, saying it was infeasible. When J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter, she faced numerous rejections. Had they believed external judgment, they wouldn't have impacted millions of lives. They understood that others' opinions don't pay bills, build visions, or realize dreams. I recall a pivotal moment. Early in my business, I faced setbacks. Some weeks seemed hopeless. One day, a former colleague said, "I knew this wouldn't work. You should have stayed at the fire department." It stung. For a moment, I questioned him. But I quickly realized that giving up would surrender control of my life to someone who never dared step outside their comfort zone. This empowered me to continue. Months later, my business thrived, and that same colleague was astonished by my success. Understand this: judgment will always exist, regardless of your actions. Failure invites criticism, success does too. The question isn't, what will they think, but, what do I want to reap from my life? Ultimately, those who criticize today probably won't support you tomorrow, but the consequences of your choices will stay with you forever. Breaking free from the fear of judgment unlocks extraordinary liberty. You act courageously, take more risks, and explore your hidden potential. As you liberate yourself from this invisible prison, the doors of prosperity swing open. True wealth isn't just money, it's living according to your vision without shrinking to fit others' expectations. The mind is fertile ground. Whatever you plant grows, be it seeds of hope or fear. Protecting your thoughts is vital for achieving prosperity. Many attribute failures to external factors, the economy, lack of support, absence of opportunities. But the truth is that often, it's not what happens outside that determines the outcome, but what happens within your mind. Repeated thoughts create patterns, and patterns shape your identity. If you constantly think of scarcity, lack, and difficulty, your mind programs itself to find more of it in reality. It's like a magnet attracting experiences aligned with what you nurture most. Neuroscience confirms this. Studies show that consistently repeating an idea strengthens neural connections, making the thought automatic. This means that if you spend your day mentally repeating that you're incapable, that you don't have money, that you're unlucky, your brain will start operating in that mode as if it were your only possible reality. The Bible warned us about this when it said, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This isn't just a nice phrase, it's a universal principle. The heart, understood as the subconscious mind, records the deepest impressions and begins to manifest in the external world what is rooted within us. That's why it's not enough to simply desire prosperity in words. You need to cultivate thoughts aligned with that vision because the mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. It simply obeys the command you repeatedly feed it. A simple example of this can be seen in high-performance athletes. Before entering a competition, many of them mentally practice every movement, every detail of the event. They see themselves winning, crossing the finish line, receiving the medal. This practice isn't just motivational, it's scientific. Research proves that when you vividly imagine an action, the same brain areas activated during the actual execution are stimulated. This means the mind prepares to transform that image into reality. Similarly, when you focus on failure, scarcity, and fear, you're training your brain to accept these conditions as normal. And worse, you start making decisions that confirm those thoughts. This is what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. The person believes they won't succeed, acts hesitantly, conveys insecurity, tracks poor results, and then confirms the initial belief, "I knew it wouldn't work." On the other hand, when you protect your mind and choose to nurture thoughts of abundance, courage, and victory, you begin to act in accordance with that vision. Your posture changes, your energy changes, your perception of opportunities expands. The world doesn't transform overnight, but you do, and that's enough to alter the course of your story. I've experienced this firsthand. There were times when it seemed impossible to continue, when external circumstances were utterly unfavorable. But instead of letting myself sink into thoughts of defeat, I decided to hold on to the vision of what I wanted to build. I repeated to myself daily that I would prosper, that I would achieve freedom, that nothing could stop me if I remained steadfast. Over time, this conviction ceased to be merely an affirmation and became part of my identity. It was at that point that things truly began to change. The secret lies in constantly guarding what enters your mind. Negative news, conversations laden with pessimism, environments that only reinforce scarcity, all of this can be like weeds growing in your mental field. If you don't pull them out by the roots, they suffocate the good seeds. Therefore, protecting your thoughts isn't an isolated act, it's a daily habit. It means consciously choosing what you will read, listen to, and especially repeat to yourself. When you understand this principle, you realize that prosperity begins long before it reaches your wallet. It's born in the invisible realm of thoughts. The mind is the source, and reality is merely the reflection. If you learn to protect, cultivate, and nourish your mind with images of abundance, courage, and faith, you will inevitably reap the rewards in the physical world. Because life always obeys the unerring law, what you consistently think about, sooner or later, you become. The Bible teaches us to give thanks in all circumstances, and there's a detail many don't realize: it guides us to give thanks even before receiving. This is a principle that seems counterintuitive to the logical mind. How can you be thankful for something that doesn't yet exist in your life? The answer lies in the nature of the mind and the energy you emit to the universe. When you thank in advance, you're programming your subconscious mind to perceive abundance as an already existing reality. You're not just being optimistic, you're shaping your perception and creating internal conditions for the result to manifest. Many people spend their lives complaining about their salary, their bills, their job, the opportunities that don't appear. And the most striking thing is that they believe they're being realistic. But all this negativity acts like a magnet, it attracts more scarcity, more problems, more frustrations. Anticipatory gratitude works precisely the opposite. It creates a field of attraction that allows opportunities and solutions to flow naturally into your life. I remember a very significant experience I had. Before opening my first cleaning business, I had no capital, no experience, and even less guarantee of success. But instead of focusing on the lack, I started writing and thanking daily for the success I wanted to achieve. Every day, I wrote detailed sentences about my income, about the clientele I would have, about how the business would prosper, and I thanked as if it were already happening. At first, it seemed ridiculous, until something began to change. Opportunities started to appear, clients started to trust me, ideas I hadn't considered emerged. It wasn't coincidence, it was the practical application of this principle. Look at Jim Carrey. He wrote himself a check for $10 million years before receiving any payment of that amount. And every day he gave thanks as if he had already received it. Years later, he received exactly that amount for his work in a film. What seemed impossible became reality because he not only believed but gave thanks in advance and kept the vision alive in his mind. Gratitude, in this case, was the engine that aligned his mind and actions with the desired result. This principle can be applied to any aspect of life. If you want a raise, a promotion, a new business, or even a lifestyle change, start now to write in detail what you want to achieve and give thanks as if it were already in your hands. Feel the emotion of having already achieved it. Science shows that strong emotions associated with mental images activate the brain in the same way as real experiences, and this prepares the mind to recognize opportunities and make decisions consistent with that state of abundance. A powerful exercise I propose is simple: choose a financial or personal goal you want to achieve in the next 6 months. Take a piece of paper and write as if you've already achieved it, including details such as numbers, dates, feelings, and reactions. Then, every day, read it aloud and give thanks. Feel every word. This practice isn't magic, it's the total alignment of your subconscious mind with what you want to manifest. The secret of anticipatory gratitude is not depending on external circumstances to feel good. You begin to train your mind to perceive the world as abundant, even when the results don't yet appear. And it's precisely this daily practice that transforms lives, because when you give thanks before receiving, you create a powerful magnet that attracts what your mind already considers certain, inevitable, and deserved. Applying this principle, you notice something incredible: your life begins to change without you immediately realizing it. Doors open, people appear, ideas emerge. It's as if the entire universe puts itself at your disposal. The Bible leaves no room for doubt. True gratitude is the key that unlocks abundance, and the anticipation of that gratitude accelerates the manifestation process, transforming desires into concrete reality. If you practice this every day, not just for a few minutes but as a conscious habit, in 6 months your life will be unrecognizable. You will not only be richer financially, you will be internally transformed, prepared to recognize and receive everything that before seemed impossible. Because, ultimately, true prosperity begins in the heart, in the mind, and in the gratitude you choose to feel now, before any tangible result. Your mind is the key to your prosperity, and it all starts with the thoughts you cultivate, with the faith you put into action, with the seeds you plant, and with the gratitude you feel even before receiving. When you internalize this and apply it daily, in 6 months your life can transform in ways that seem impossible today. And now, if you wish to climb another step in your wisdom evolution and become at least 1% better than you are today, the next video appearing on the screen will take you even deeper down this path. I thank you for coming this far, and I'll see you there, ready to continue this journey toward your true abundance.